Welcome to Travels by Motorbike. I'm Quinton Reid and this is my 2004 model Ford Escape. It's a 3-litre V6 SUV built in conjunction with Mazda, who sold it as a tribute. Why am I talking about a mid-size SUV on a motorbike channel? Come inside, make a cup of tea and I'll fill you in. I do like a good cuppa. This video was originally supposed to be about a bike ride, specifically to Mudgee for the Wings, Wheels and Wine Airshow. However, due to a number of circumstances, I ended up having to drive, hence the Ford Escape. So the Escape's good on a trip. It's roomy, it's comfortable and it's easy to drive. However, it does have a few issues. The accelerator motion is a little unusual, and at times the cruise control can be overly enthusiastic. Plus it's getting on a year, so things are starting to wear out and break on it, but that's to be expected with a 17-year-old car. Let me just go put a hoodie on. It's starting to get a bit chilly here, so back in a flash. That's better. So yeah, the car has a few issues. Despite the fact it's getting old, parts are getting hard to find and they're becoming expensive. It does have a slow leak in the power steering. The suspension could do with replacing, it's kind of worn out. And it does have an intermittent issue with the oil pressure switch, but aside from that, runs well, most of the time. The Mudgee Airshow was on for one day only, Sunday the 18th of April, but because I'd come off night shift the day before, I was going to be tired, and the fact that Mudgee's over 300 kilometres away, I decided to make the trip an overnighter. Again, because I'd delayed in buying the ticket and checking accommodation, by the time I got around to it, all the accommodation in Mudgee was booked out. That meant in turn that I had to stay at Gulgong, which is about 30 kilometres further north from Mudgee. So the fact that I wasn't staying in Mudgee itself wasn't really an issue. Because I'd never been in the area before, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do some photos and video of the Mudgee Gulgong area and surrounding sites. Consequently, I'd plan on stopping at the Explorers Tree at Katoomba, Pearson's Lookout just near Kapiti, and at Windermere Dam a little bit further north and south of Mudgee. As it turned out, my plans didn't quite go as expected. I'd overslept after night shift and consequently didn't leave home until later than I'd originally anticipated. So that by the time I got past Katoomba, it was effectively dark. And then of course it rained all the way from Katoomba to just near Mudgee, so I couldn't really see much of anything anyway. But since it got dark and as it was getting later, I decided not a problem, I'll just drive straight through to Gulgong. But as I approached Mudgee, that's when things started to get really interesting. At first I'd noticed these tiny little light-coloured spots on the road, and I thought, oh damn, maybe the cane toads have made it this far down. But when they started moving and I started getting closer, I noticed they were mice. Yeah, mice. I'd seen media reports about the mouse plague in rural New South Wales, but until you actually see it firsthand yourself and see the road in front of you literally moving, words just can't describe it. It's absolutely incredible. So after getting settled in the accommodation in Gulgong, walked into town to get some dinner, and even walking through the streets of the town, the mice were just scattering absolutely everywhere. I mean, it really was something else to see. Unfortunately, I didn't get any photos or videos. However, I did take a couple of photos of some of the old buildings just using my phone before I headed back to the motel and settled in for the night. The weather forecast for the day of the airshow was 6 to 18 degrees, fine and sunny, with a chance of some morning fog. Perfect conditions for some golden hour photography, right? Except the fog was that thick, I could barely see past the bonnet of the car. I tried to search for higher ground, but to no avail. I was while debating my options at that point that the oil light came on. Great, just what I needed. So, I pulled over and cleaned the oil pressure switch. Twice. And the light kept coming on. Third time, I checked the oil. Damn! Hardly a drop on the dipstick, it was almost bone dry. The car was only serviced a week prior, and I checked everything before the trip and it was just fine. I'd even driven all the way to Gulgong and the car never missed a beat. So how did it go through all that oil, and where was I going to find 5W20 at 6:30 on a Sunday morning in a small country town? Needless to say, I never made it to the airshow.